I am going to recap a lot of the information that we started with last class. Okay, let's do a quick recap where we are in history. We spoke about the 4 exiles the Jewish people went through. Does anyone here from last class know what these 4 exiles were? I can't hear you. You're going to have to shout it out, my dear friends. Number 1 was Bavel, the Babylonian exile, and that was Nebuchadnezzar, who threw us out of Israel. Okay? Nebuchadnezzar. The second exile that was the Jewish people had to go through was no, that's number 3. It was Madai, the Median one, and it was Paras, the Persian one. The Persian one. Okay? It's at this point over here that this semester we're going to focus on. That is, of course, the Persian exile that started with Cyrus. He was the first Persian king. He was actually good to the Jewish people, allowed them to return to the land of Israel, and he was rewarded for that. But after him came Ahasuerus, who is going to be the centerpiece of our story. I'll do the other 2, although they're not going to come up this semester. The third exile was Yavan, was Greece. These are all the nations who either displaced the Jewish people from the land of Israel, kicked them out, or who controlled the Jewish people while they were in Israel, like the Greeks, Yavan. Finally, we have Edom, God bless you. Edom slash Romi is referred to as both. And this is the Roman exile that was the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, and that's Tisha B'Av that we will be discussing at the end of the semester. So last semester we did Yavan, Greece, that's the Hanukkah story. This semester we're going to do Paras, Persia, and Edom, the Roman exile, which is going to be Tisha B'Av. Are we clear? Any questions? I like questions. Well, for now, just you can write it like this, right? Or Tisha Av, the 9th of Av. The 9th of Av is what it means. Okay, the 9th day of Av is going to be the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. We're going to come to that later on. We have a prophet. Her name was Mor.
What year was the second exile?
Okay, so the second exile was 70 AD. We're going to come to that later on. This is the one I want to focus on now. This exile, the first temple was destroyed in 425 BCE. To be honest with you, I don't expect you to know that date. I don't really care about it. The Hebrew calendar was 3338. That is when the temple was destroyed. There was a prophet. His name was Jeremiah. He lived at the time of the first Beit HaMikdash in the land of Israel. And he said, chapter 29, Jeremiah. Okay, 29:11. And he said that, actually it's 10, sorry. He said that the Jewish people, if they keep doing what they're doing, which they were doing, the Babylonians are going to come and they're going to attack and they're going to destroy the Beit HaMikdash and they're going to exile the Jewish people to Babylonia. That's where it was originally, right? That's where the empire was under Nebuchadnezzar. And they're going to be exiled. Actually, he didn't know who was going to do it, but he knew it would happen. However, it would only last for 70 years. See it? So this exile was 70 years. Okay? There's a 70-year exile to the Jewish people.
425 BC?
Yeah. That's when the temple was destroyed. The temple was destroyed 425 BCE.
Not the Persian, Babylon.
Babylon, that's when it was destroyed, and it leaked into this. Yeah. So that's what he told us. So the Jewish people are like, oh my goodness. All right, we better get an act together. They didn't. Came Nebuchadnezzar, destroys the temple, and when he destroys the temple, not just destroying the temple, he ends up, we said last week, kidnapping a vast amount of Jewish boys. Maybe girls as well, we're not too sure. Probably did. Took a lot of Jewish boys, and he brought them into Babylonia, and he treated them really, really well. Gave them the best food, the best accommodation, the best clothing, the best teachers, because he wanted to create a brain drain of Jewish boys into his land. That's what smart anti-Semites do. They don't just kill us, right? They take us alike. You know what? If we have the Jews, might as well use them. Someone's got to run the economy. Got to find a Jewish lawyer somewhere. Someone's going to build all the buildings and open up all the banks. And that's exactly what he did. One of these young boys was the name of Daniel. We're going to meet him. We're going to meet him during the story. He's going to be encoded in our story. Okay? Now, this 70 years of Jeremiah, very, very famous prophecy. Why is that important? Because there was a machloket, there was a disagreement when the 70 years begins and ends. And there were Jews and non-Jews alike who never actually knew when to start and finish the 70 years. The Jewish people had their thoughts, and the non-Jews had their thoughts, right? Even Ahasuerus had his theory as to when the 70 years would begin and end. Okay? He was wrong. I mean, by the way, when do you actually start the clock ticking on an exile? Is it when the first Jew leaves? Is it when the 100th Jew leaves? Is it when the last Jew gets out? Is it when the leaders are kicked out? It's not so simple to figure out, right? And everyone's trying to figure out, when are we going to go back? When are we going to go back? Are we together? Ahasuerus had his theory. And his theory, his calculation was wrong. He was about 17, 18 years too short. Okay? He started the clock too early. Happens to be that according to Ahasuerus, who is going to be one of the kings who takes over from Nebuchadnezzar and moves all of the power into Paras, into a part of Paras, which we spoke about last class, which is called Shushan. Okay? Actually, it was Cyrus. Cyrus was the first Persian king who took over from Nebuchadnezzar. Actually, I think Madai, his father-in-law, Cyrus's father-in-law, Darius the First, okay? Darius the First, who the second one was, we're going to meet him later on in the course. Darius the First took over from Nebuchadnezzar. He comes along, actually, there's Belshazzar was in between. Darius takes over and it moves to Paras under Cyrus, and then Ahasuerus takes it over. So we're seeing different people taking over and moving the power base Israel to Bavel to Paras. All this is important. This is not just like, history class with Haji. There's a reason I'm telling you all of this. Comes Ahasuerus and says, 70 years. The Jews are going back. Not on my watch. We want the Jews to stay with us. Okay? And he says, I'm watching the clock. And according to me, the 70 years are going to end in the 3rd year of my reign. So in the 3rd year of Ahasuerus' reign and takeover, okay, he was actually a military general who fought his way up and became leader of 127 provinces. We're going to see that in the Megillah in just a moment. He takes over and he says, that's it. I'm in charge now. The 70 years have come to an end. And the Jewish people are still in exile. They're still in Galut. Galut. They're not going back. They're not going back. How does he signify? How does Ahasuerus signify this idea of you Jews are not going back? How's he going to demonstrate this? What's he going to do? He's going to kill all the Jews? He could, but he doesn't. What's he going to do over here? It's actually a brilliant strategy, which has been used many, many times since. What does he do? He celebrates and he throws a party. And when I say party, my friends, I mean a party that none of you have ever experienced before. I got close once, but not too close. The party he throws is actually a 6-month party, 180 days. 180 days party, 6 months is how long this party lasts for. And that's what we're going to see in the Megillah. So the opening scene of the Megillah is a big party. A very big party. And we're going to see that everyone is invited. And he's going to make it very lavish. And he's going to invite all the Jewish people to the party. And he's going to make it, we're going to see today, we're going to see all this is hinted at in the Megillah. He's going to make it fancy and beautiful and kosher. And he's not going to force the Jewish people to drink. He doesn't have to force them to eat, because that's what we do at parties. But he's going to make it kosher food with hashgacha. And he's going to make it wine that is copious and gold and silver. and he's going to celebrate, and he's going to get dressed up. It's the first instance of getting dressed up we're going to see in the Purim Megillah story. And it's going to be one of the reasons we get dressed up on Purim. This is the first one. I would note them down. Number one, of someone getting dressed up as someone else or getting dressed up in a costume is Ahasuerus at his party. Ahasuerus at his party. And he's going to get dressed up as, not a policeman or a chassid, as Kohen Gadol, as the high priest. Why does he do this? And by the way, where did he get the outfit from? Where would Ahasuerus get the outfit of the high priest? Assuming it was the real outfit. Because the guy destroyed the temple, stole all the gold and silver, and he stole all the tapestries, and he stole everything, and he stole the items of the Kohen Gadol, of which there were 8. If you look for just 1 minute, my dear friends, at verse 6, can you look at it? It tells us all the items that Ahasuerus collected and put inside. Chor, karpas. Can you see the word chor? I don't know if your version has it. There's a large chet. Chor. There's a large chet in it over here. These were hangings of white, fine cotton and blue. Beautiful. The word chor appears with an extra large. Sometimes letters are enlarged, ravta, or they're made small, right? In the Torah or in Tanakh, they're there to teach us something. Usually it's Times New Roman 12. Here it's Times New Roman, 22. This is number 8. And this is a hint of Mordechai and Esther when they wrote the Megillah, that he took the 8, the chet, and he made it big, and he dressed up as the Kohen Gadol. There's also words over here, like Tiferet Gedulato, words that are used in the Torah to describe the items in the Beit HaMikdash. So he's not only taken the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, he's even dressed up as the Kohen Gadol. What a slap in the face that was to the Jewish people who attended this party. What a slap in the face. They're turning up and they're drinking wine from goblets that were from the Beit HaMikdash. And they're enjoying the marble and they're enjoying the tapestries that were from the Beit HaMikdash. Can you imagine how bad that was? Wow. That's one of the reasons that they were punished with Haman. That's what the rabbis tell us. They went to the party of Achashverosh and they had a good time. Parties are fun. I'll be honest, if I was there and then, I probably would have gone too. Well, he's a new leader, he's powerful, he's in charge. Let's go, let's show our face. Like me at every wedding I have to attend. Let's just go, show my face, and get out as quickly as possible. But they went and they enjoyed it. They had hana'ah. Imagine that. Temple's destroyed, not 70 years before or less, and there they are, enjoying all this like food and stuff, and he's dressed up the Kohen Gadol, he's being nice and wonderful to everyone. He's like, come! Okay? And just so you can see it, I did this last class, but just to go back for just 1 second, look at the early part of the Megillah, verse 1. You can open your books, you can have a look over there. He controlled a vast amount of land, 127 provinces, which were connected to Sarah Amenu, who lived 127 years. Watch the first class to understand the connection. Keshevet HaMelech Achashverosh al Kiseh Malchuto. He's sitting on his throne comfortably. Doesn't mean he's literally sitting on his throne when this happens. It means he's now comfortable. He's assured of what? His power and his authority. He was a diabolical, narcissistic dictator. It's the only way to describe him. I mean, you could keep going and give him more, accolades. That's who he was. He was terrible. He doesn't look that bad. 1 second, I'm going to come to you 1 second. He doesn't look that bad when you read the Megillah. He seems like a very friendly king. There's only one reason. And that is because at the end of the story, he doesn't die. And he gets presented with his own Megillat Esther art scroll. And so they don't make him look that bad. But Mordechai and Esther encoded, and we're going to discover these codes, hidden away, a key word for this semester, hidden away in Megillat Esther are hints to what he was really all about. And he was not a good person. According to the rabbis in the Gemara, he was worse than Mordechai. I'm very got drunk. Than Haman. Right? He was worse than Haman, and he hated the Jews much, much, much more. Sorry about that. Sarah, yeah.
Why does it start with "it happened in the days of Ahasuerus"?
Very, very nice. So that is a code word. I don't know if I remember this last class. That says something bad's about to happen. Vayehi. And it was. And it was. And it came to pass. Vayehi is a code word for something bad is about to happen, which it is. Which it is. Sure. Be my pleasure. Vayehi. Vayehi, says the Gemara, is a code word for something not so good is going to occur. Yeah.
I don't really get why it would necessarily be such a bad thing for Jews to like be integrated into the culture. Like as long as you're still practicing your Judaism, I think it's actually a really good thing for Jews to be recognized by the state. I mean, just yesterday, like President Dr. Ari Berman spoke at the inauguration. I thought that was amazing. Like, I think it's a good thing.
It is a good thing. There's no doubt about it. Representing, and everyone went. All the rabbis went. So that's the question the Gemara asks. What's the big deal? What do they do wrong? What do they do wrong? They went to the party. He's literally, if they don't go, they're going to insult him. We're going to die. It was kosher. They enjoyed it a bit too much. They started to put their faith into him rather into Hashem. That's how the rabbis answer that. But it's a fair point. And that's why they weren't wiped out. They faked it. So you know what Hashem did? Says Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Hashem faked it too. I'm going to pretend to kill you, but I'm not going to. It's midah keneged midah. But you're right. In and of itself, all the rabbis went except one person, Mordechai. Mordechai did not go to the party. And we're going to see why he stood out. And by the way, the rabbis were very upset with him. They were, what are you doing? You're going to get us killed over here. They were not happy that he did not go to this feast. There's a reason why he singled himself out. But all the other great rabbis of the day did actually go. They did go. But they started to enjoy a bit too much. Something was off with their attendance at this party. Yeah. Chor is just like a clothing, right? A material is literally what it means. But it's the chet that we're focusing on. Okay? It's the chet that we're focusing on. Yeah? Okay. Are we good so far? So once again, third year of the reign. He's comfortable. He's in charge. Yes?
I have an interpretation.
Go right ahead.
So, Ahasuerus was wearing all these clothing.
Yeah.
8 layers. And it shows that as a person, there were layers to him. So he was covering up what he really was.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. That clothing over here is more than just what you put on your body, Sarah Arnstein. We're going to see that the clothing that is worn and the various clothing that are put on and taken off during this story are there to represent a hidden quality to the Jewish people. Actually, the word or name Esther. Any Esther's here? You're an Esther? Danai? Oh, I prefer Esther to Danai. That's a nice name. What does Esther mean? It's your name. How do you not know? It means Queen Esther. Very, very good. What does it mean? It means I'm a queen. Because that's what my mommy and daddy told me. I'm a queen. Okay. It means hidden. It means hidden. Okay? Nistar. Hidden. We're going to see why she got that name. That was not her real name, but her real name was Aleph, Samach, Taf, Resh. Okay? That's not her real name. Her real name was Hadassah. Any Hadassahs over here? Any Hadassahs? Okay, we're going to see why she was given the name Hadassah and why she got a code name as Esther. Esther means hidden. Nistar is hidden.
Did you just answer it? Code name hidden?
What?
You said code name hidden.
Her code name, the name that she adopted was Esther, which wasn't a known name, and it means hidden because she was hidden in the palace and her identity was hidden from the world. And it was also a name that is used in other languages. Ishtar. Actually, the word star comes from Esther, right? She's like a star in the heavens, so far away, unrecognizable. Her mission success, we're going to see, is that she survives and is hidden away and no one knows she's Jewish. Her identity is hidden. Her identity is hidden. Very, very important. I'm going to say more about this when we get to her when she turns up in a few moments. Yeah?
Is it also because Hashem is almost hidden?
Hashem is hidden in this story. I'm going to get to that as well. It's the only book, Megillat Esther, is the only book in all of Tanakh where God's name is not mentioned. Isn't that incredible? The only book of all the scriptures where there's no Hashem, right? There's no Baruch Hashem, right? Mazal Tov, Mabruk. I know you people do it, right? It's all hidden. His name's not hidden. His name's not mentioned over there. This is a hint to the fact that God hides himself in the events of the story as well. Okay? All of this is part of what's going on. Rachel, we answer your question?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
What did you say again about him, sitting comfortably?
So he basically, we're going to see, usurped power. He was not of royal blood, and that's going to be very important. And that is why he was a megalomaniac, but he was also very, very scared. Scared of what? Of, first of all, assassination, of which we're going to see an attempt to get against his life. But he's also scared. What are dictators scared of? The people around them. Very scared. Okay? So he is going to basically live a life constantly of fear and loathing of everyone around him. Eventually, that's even going to leak out onto Haman eventually. Okay? What was your exact question now?
I just asked what we said about him sitting comfortably.
So he was now comfortable after 3 years. After 3 years of it, he's like, now I'm comfortable. When you first get in, he's a dictator. Basically, it's North Korea. I don't know what to tell you. Right? It's North Korea. He's in charge. He's controlling. He's putting statues of himself everywhere. Right? This is the way it was. That is what we're dealing over here. Okay? After 3 years, he's like, I can chill out. Plus, the 70 years came to an end in the 3rd year of his reign. So he's like, you Jews ain't going nowhere. You're stuck with me. You're stuck with me. Now he feels good, right? Because you got Jews, you got business. Yeah? You got JP Morgan, right? You got the accounting firms. You can start to chill out. And that's what he does. Okay? Fabulous. Okay, so he throws a party and he invites everyone. Let's just look at some of the words, because some of the words are very important over here. If you have your Megillah, which you all have, please open up. Just jump to verse 7 of Perek Aleph. V'hashkot, v'klei zahav, v'kelim shonim. There's a lot to say on this, but he had golden and silver vessels. The Midrash tells us they would drink and they would throw the cups away. They get another gold cup. No one drank wine that was younger than them. If you had 20, a 20-year-old wine, right? If you had 30, a 30-year-old wine. It was an incredible, amazing, lavish party. And he invited people from all over. The 127 promises. That's the key number. Number 8 key over here. And 127 is key as well. They come from all over the 127 provinces in order to... That's the amount of clothing he wore as the Kohen Gadol. And 127 is unrelated to that, but that's the amount of areas that he controlled. From Hodu ad Kush. From India to Ethiopia. Okay? So everyone from all these places came to see him. Right? He's invited. How long does it take to get there? It takes months. So it's a 6-month party. Right? 2-3 months to schlep to Persia. Right? You can't, El Al wasn't flying in those days. Still not flying to Persia. Right? But in those days, not flying. Had to schlep their way there. And they went to the party. And they brought him gifts and gold because they don't want to get killed. He's a dictator. Okay? Okay. Vashtia. Look at verse 8. The drink. Kedat. What's Kedat mean? According to the law. What law? It says Mordechai and Esther. Halacha. Nice. Kosher wine. Had a big OU symbol on it. Hashgacha from the Rabbanim. You can drink my wine. You Jews. You're not Israeli anymore. You're not even Jewish. You're now mine. You belong to me. You are Persians. Which some of you is good news. But back then it wasn't such great news. Okay? You are Persians. Okay? And there was no ein ones. There's no force. They used to force people to drink vast amount of wine until they become unconscious or die. There were no party games, right? There was no, beer pong. You just drank how much you wanted. It was, laugh too quickly there, Sarah. People drank what they wanted, as much as they wanted. They ate what they wanted. It was all open because he's trying to ingratiate himself to the people. Okay? He's trying to get their support. That's how dictators always begin. Let's get rid of a few bad apples, and then we want everyone to love me and love me. Okay? But all of it is, it's an account in order to make things work for him. Yeah.
So you said that Ahasuerus told them that they weren't Israeli, they were Persian.
Well, they were, Israeli. They weren't part of that nation. They don't need Israel anymore. You're not going back Jeremiah was wrong, he said. 70 years is up, you're still here. You're no longer part of Israel, your temple's destroyed. Don't worry, your new home is here. Right? That's what he wanted. That's what Nebuchadnezzar did too. Destroys the temple, takes the Jews out. Stay here in Babel. Right? Become my workers, my people. Okay. First problem for Ahasuerus is his wife. Or probably one of his wives, because he had a whole myriad of them at this point. Now, she's a very interesting person. And her name is Vashti. Vashti is her name. Okay? Let's talk about this woman, because she's a very interesting and complex character. Right? Vashti is a very important character in this story. She was, different opinions, some say a granddaughter or a great-granddaughter of Nebuchadnezzar. And Ahasuerus married her. Now, if you read, one second, Sarah. If you read the Megillah and the story, it doesn't seem like she was such a bad person. And people join what I call the Vashti fan club. They love Vashti, right? And bad things are about to happen to her. But if you read the story, she doesn't seem so bad. And we're not even told how or even if she died. Why not? Why not? And why does she not seem so bad? Okay. It's all to do with what's about to happen to her and what she did to Ahasuerus. You see, she came from royal blood. And she kept niggling him and saying, I'm from royal blue blood and you're just a guy, a military guy who went to the top. Why did he marry her? Because that's how you showed that you were royal. I mean, excuse the comparison. Meghan Markle, not of royal blood, but you marry into the mishpacha, suddenly you're royalty. Right? Same thing with Kate Middleton. I don't know, I would use America, you don't have any kings or queens over here. Right? I mean, you have, some families, but not at this level. This was a very common theme. They would have one royal dynasty from one country, marry another one, like the British and French would marry their kids off, right? And usually these kids hated each other, but they had no choice because I want to consolidate my power. So Ahasuerus takes this girl, and by the way, he took her, she was probably very young, and he violated her, which was standard in those days, right? The violence they did, and he married her. And she didn't mind because her Babylonian family are all dead. So she's like, you know what? I'll take it. It may not be great, but at least I'm, still in power. But she doesn't forget where she's from. And she's always reminding Ahasuerus where she's from, as I'm going to show you very, very clearly right now. Your question, which I jumped over?
What does Vashti mean?
I'm not sure. I could look into that. I'm not sure why she got that name. I think that was actually her original name. It could well be.
Meaning?
It must do somehow. I'm not sure. I'll look into it. Oh, you can. Yeah.
I feel like when I was younger, Vashti was portrayed in a worse light than
Why?
Ahasuerus.
Why?
She was always portrayed as this nasty person.
It's not how the Megillah depicts it. The Megillah does not depict her as a nasty. The Megillah depicts her as a nice woman who was taken advantage of. The rabbis, by looking at how Mordechai and Esther depicts her, are like, wow, she is bad. And she was bad. She used to torture. She used to take Jewish women, strip them naked, beat them, make them work for her, and work on Shabbat. And look how Mordechai and Esther actually describe this. Let's have a look inside. Look at verse 9, just so you can get a picture of her from Mordechai and Esther, although it's encoded. Why is it encoded? Because, not yet, she's alive at this point. Why is it encoded? Because Ahasuerus fell in love with her. And when he kills her, which he's going to do, he's drunk, but he was in love, it's going to tell us. And so if they keep bringing it up like, oh, she's dead, you killed her, he's going to get very, very upset. Like, why'd you write that down? You're dead as well. So they had to be very careful, make sure you're understanding, to make sure that when he reads it, he's like, oh, Vashti, I forgot all about her. What did I do to her? Which he did actually feel. He actually had remorse over it. But you know what? That's another reason not to get drunk. Gam Vashti Hamalka Asta Mishte Nashim. Also, Vashti, the queen, makes her own party. Now, when I was a kid, I thought she was this religious Jewish woman or religious queen, right? And she's like, oh, pasnished. You can't put the men and women in the same party, right? You gotta have a nice mechitza and make it separate. I promise you that's not what's happening. Why does Vashti make her own party? Think about it for what I've told you up to now. Why is Vashti making her own party? Yeah.
She thinks that she's better than him.
She thinks she's better than him.
Wants to like separate themselves.
I'm not part of your party. What are you? You're a nothing. I am Vashti from royal descent. You're a shmegegi who happens to be good at warfare, right? And political things. Look how she describes herself and how Ahasuerus describes her. Okay? Gam Vashti Hamalka Asta Mishte Nashim. Okay? She is Vashti Hamalka. When she refers to herself, she refers to herself as Hamalka Vashti. You're going to see that in the dialogue. So she is referred to by the Megillah, by Achashverosh, as Vashti the queen. She refers to herself as Queen Vashti. Please tell me, what is the difference between Vashti the queen, as he calls her, as we're going to see, and Queen Vashti as she calls herself? What is the difference? I'll update it. Queen Elizabeth or Elizabeth the Queen? King Charles or Charles the King? Or President Trump or Trump the President? I'll give you a little clue over there. Yeah.
It's like she doesn't actually have the power. Like it was given to her. Like it's just a position.
Which is which?
The like Vashti the queen. Like that's just like a position.
Is that higher or lower?
Lower. Like it's just a position that she holds. Whereas like Queen Vashti, like that's who she.
He's like, you're nothing. You're Vashti, who's queen because of me. She's like, I'm Queen Vashti. The title comes first. Title first shows you are the queen. You get it? Then now we're going to see Esther's going to have a problem here. She's going to become Esther the queen because she knows I'm not going to push his buttons. So she is going to refer to herself as Esther Hamalka. Not Hamalka. We don't know her as Hamalka Esther, do we? Esther Hamalka. The name comes first. Now that's interesting, right? That is interesting. So there's hidden away in the Megillah is this political battle that Mordechai and Esther are depicting to us between Achashverosh and Vashti. It shows how weak he was, how of low self-esteem about his position, and how she's coming back and be like, yeah, you're right. Right? So it's not looking good. Now, something is going to happen on the seventh day. Bayom Hashvi'i. That's what it says in verse 10. On the seventh day, the king gets drunk. By the way, whenever you see someone getting drunk in Tanakh, bad things happen. Whenever someone gets drunk in the Torah, on Nevi'im Ketuvim, something not good's about to occur. And it's like always there. It's a side observation. It's my observation. But people are out of control. Okay? People are out of control. And yet on Purim, we start drinking a little bit more. We'll see why, that's going to be like measure for measure. Okay, fine. It's the seventh day and he gets drunk. Seventh day of what? Why are we told it's the seventh day?
The party.
Seventh day of the party? Why do I care seventh day of the party?
They're already done.
No, it's a 180-day party. There's an extra party for 7 days, you're right, but it's not part of this. The seventh day is? It's on Shabbat. It's on Shabbat. What's about to happen occurs on Shabbat. Why is the Megillah telling us this? Why is the Megillah telling us? Okay, it took place on Tuesday. Why do we need to know about what's about to happen to Vashti occurred on Shabbat? More.
It's one of the hints that Hashem was part of it without.
Beautiful. And the words I want you to write down now, because this is a theme that's going to come up again and again. Mida, ka, neged, mida. Measure for measure. Measure for measure. That's one of the themes that's come up again and again and again. This is one of the first instances we're going to see it. This is not, as some people call it, karma. This is whatever you put out into the world is how you're going to be taken advantage of or sometimes revenged against by Hashem, the spiritual world. Measure for measure. If you act a certain way, positively, or in this case negatively, you're going to get the same back. That's how the spiritual world, it like follows you like a shadow, say the rabbis. It's going to come back. So what's the situation over here? So Vashti tortures the Jewish women and makes them machalel Shabbat. By the way, she did that because she knew that Shabbat kept the Jewish people together. So this was her way of stopping the redemption. She knows that Shabbat leads to Geula, redemption, as we're going to see. One of the ways we redeem ourselves to bring Mashiach, more about this in my Mashiach course, is by keeping Shabbat. It's a Me'en Olam Haba. It's part of the next world. So she was aware of that. They were not stupid. So she made everyone break Shabbat. Hashem's like, boom! When are you going to die? 7th day. You made them break Shabbat against their will. I'm going to kill you on Shabbat. And don't become part of the Vashti fan club. She was an evil, evil individual who hated the Jewish people more than Haman. Absolutely. Okay? So 7th day, he gets drunk and he says he has these advisors who are going to advise him. And he turns around to them, and a list of the names are quoted over here, and he calls them out and he says, tell me what I should do. Okay, I take that back. He says to these 7 people to bring Vashti to him, take her out of her party and bring her lahavi et Vashti Amalka. You see that? Vashti Amalka. So she's not Amalka Vashti, she's Vashti Amalka. Tell her to come to my party, Lifnei HaMelech, Beketer Malchut, wearing her royal crown. Wearing her Keter Malchut. I want to see her wearing her crown.
The advisors told him that, or Ahasuerus?
He tells his advisors, go chapa, his attendants, and bring her here. I want her here, wearing her crown. Why does he want her in a crown? To show her off, to show that she is royalty, but belongs to him, because he's the new king, right? It's a genius political play. The rabbis say, if it says in her crown, it means only in her crown, but naked besides that. He wanted her to dance naked in front of the party, just wearing her crown. He's debasing her, he's demoralizing her, he's showing his power over her, and she's wearing her crown. In other words, look at what this royalty thing really means. It's mine now. Okay? By the way, do you hate Ahasuerus yet? It's going to get worse. You're going to leave the Ahasuerus fan club as well, my dear friends. Oh, it's going to get much, 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 much worse. Okay? But don't feel sorry for Vashti. She was as evil as he was, and she is going to reject it. Yeah.
How come if he was showing off and throwing this party to show off that he's king, but it's the 3rd year of his reign, why didn't he do it when he first became king?
2 reasons. He wasn't assured in his position in the 1st year, and 2, the 70 years hadn't ended yet. The 70 years coincided with this 3rd year.
But so he was celebrating with the Jews that they're exiled.
That the Jews were stuck in exile and he was their new leader. That's exactly what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing. They knew. Oh, they knew. They knew. It didn't look good on the Jews, this whole thing. It wasn't terrible, but it didn't look good. Okay. So Vashti Amalka Melech Malchut, to show her et Yafia, to show her beauty, because she's, excuse me for saying it, not wearing much when it happened. Kitova Mari, she was a very beautiful woman. Vasar met Yafia Kitova Mari. V'tema'en. Tema'en, on verse 12, means she didn't say no. She's like, what? She absolutely refused. She's going against the word of the king. Uh-oh. You know what we call this in the political business? Treason. That's right. This is his first real test of treason and rebellion. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Because if she gets away with it, then everyone's getting away with it. What every dictator needs is a tight fist, control the masses. This is not a democracy. in any way, shape, or form. This is a full-blown dictatorship. Right? I'm talking bad. V'tima'en hamalka Vashti. You see, it's coded. You tell him that Queen Esther ain't coming. Okay? So that's what's happening between them. I'm not coming. He goes planet mental. Ma'od v'chamato barabah. Inside his kishkas, he's fuming, but he can't show it because he's got to be in control. That's why it says he's angry in ba'arabo, inside him. He's fuming. He's like, whoa, she's gone against me. She's like saying that she's the queen, and I'm a garnished, I'm a nothing. What am I going to do? How am I going to be able to keep my position? Every dictator wants to do one thing, stay dictator. No one wants to give it up. Right? They don't, hello? It's good to be king, as Mel Brooks once said, but you wouldn't know that reference. Right? It's good to be king. You don't want to give it up. I'm not giving it up to this woman. She's not, without me, I could have killed her. She's nothing without me. And at the same time, he loved her. I know. Crazy, right? Love. So fickle. One minute you love each other, next minute you want to kill each other. Okay. So he gets very, very angry. So now he's got to figure out what to do. How's he going to deal with her? So what's the first thing he does? And this is the only time he's going to do this. Things are about to change drastically because of this story. Yes, Sarah?
Why do they name his advisors twice? Why is that important?
So the names are important, but we're going to see that one of the advisors he's going to turn to right now. The earlier ones weren't so much advisors, they were more of his servants. The next grouping are important. And I'm going to show you why.
Well, why would they name them by name and give us and leave out other important details that we're curious about?
I'm not sure. But each name means something, and I'm going to point out one of them. Yeah.
Weren't his advisors the kids that were stolen? Like the
Oh, was it? No, he wasn't using them. Nebuchadnezzar was using for that. I don't think he used them. But, yeah, we'll see that he didn't use them anymore. And we'll see that's why when Daniel turns up on the scene, his position was cut in half. And that's why his code name in Megillat Esther we're going to see is Mr. Cut in Half. Hatach. He's cut in half. His power was cut in half. He used to be a very important advisor to many great leaders. But at this point he wasn't. Okay, she refuses. I'm not coming. He gets angry. So he turns around to the Chachamim, the wise people, Yodei Ha'itim, who know the times. He turns around and he says, what am I going to do with her? I'm going to ask wise people and the people who know the times.
Those are two different people.
Yeah, it seems like they are. So wise people are here. All right, let's turn around to my advisors. Who are these people who know the times? Yodea Itim. Who are these people? Know the times. What does that mean? What do you think that means? They know the times.
Young people.
What do they know? It could be young people. What do they know? And why do they know the times? You're going to have to think about this.
Were they the ones that were able to tell like the stars?
That is one opinion. He went to the rabbis who know how to, because the rabbis were experts in astronomy, to figure out when the new moon came, Chagim. That is one opinion. It's actually the rabbi. It's a code name for the rabbis who knew the times, who actually did not answer him because they knew it was a lose-lose situation. That is one opinion. But there's another opinion. Think about it literally. Know the times. When I say the times, what am I talking about?
The old people.
No.
If they knew the times, didn't they know that the 70 years weren't over?
The rabbis knew that because they were still in exile. Doesn't mean the years, it means the times.
Oh, the places, maybe?
What?
These people were
I'm supposed to get this. They knew they knew what the word on the street was. He went to the people who knew what was going on. Right? He's like, look, if I do this to her, how are people going to react? He's detached from the people. Right? He's the king. He's not anywhere near any people. He's like, what's the word on the street? If I do various things to her, what's the reaction going to be? Are they going to rebel against me and going to storm my palace and kick me out? I need to talk to the young generation. Maybe they were Rachel. Maybe they were the young people. I need the people who know what's going on. What's chilling? What's going on over here? How should I react to the situation without being deposed, without having a massive rebellion? How do people think of Vashti? What do they think of me? Right? He does a poll. He wants to figure out what the word on the street is. You get it? They know what's chilling. Right? He did his own polls. He went on, Facebook or Instagram, put a poll out there. He goes, "Kill Vashti." Right? 78% yes. Right? 5% no. And the other, I don't know. That's pretty much what he did. They knew the times. They knew the time. They knew what was chilling. They knew what was going on, and they knew how to handle the situation. That's another opinion. That's two opinions. That's really the opinion. People who knew what the reaction was going to be at the way he dealt with her. Yeah.
First, is Nebuchadnezzar alive right
Dead. Long gone. Belshazzar, who took over from him, his grandson, dead. Cyrus, dead. They're all dead. Darius the First, dead. They kill him, take their possessions, take their money and their gold, and make their own palace. That's the way it goes. They're all dead. Yeah.
It says that the king is talking to eunuchs.
Okay, there's Sarasim we're going to see in a second. We're going to meet who these people are. Hold on. There were people who were considered eunuchs at that time. Right? Okay. The eunuchs, these are people who have been emasculated, who are not able to function as, sexual men. They were put in charge of the harem, that he had as many wives in. That's where they keep all the wives. And they're kept very, very well. And he chose those people, or he made them that way, so they couldn't have any relations with his wives.
You mean like cages he kept them?
No. He kept them beautifully well. They were just not able to be there. Their reproductive organs were removed.
Right, but they like...
This was very common in those days, so that they couldn't...
Yeah, but you say wives? Queen Vashti's not the only wife of Ahasuerus?
Oh, he's got a whole bunch. She's the head wife. Oh, he's got a whole bunch. Oh, we're about to see what he's about to do. He's about to... Okay, hold on. I don't want to ruin the surprise. Okay? You better see what you're dealing with today is... You think dating is bad today? Back then it was... Jokes aside, in most cases, you didn't get married for love in those days. You got married for someone to take care and protect you. Right? We're going to see that many women are going to volunteer to become one of his wives. Because they're guaranteed to have money, food, and shelter the rest of their lives. It sounds crazy. The only one who's not going to accept it is Esther. She's forced. We'll see why. But everyone else, yeah. They want to become like the 20th wife, the 300th wife. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
You mentioned that there were two different opinions about what the rabbis were, or like what they were known as.
It's the people who knew the times. Some say that's a reference to the rabbis who knew astronomy in order to fix the moon and the chagim at the right times. And some say no, it just means the people who are young and with it who knew what was going on. Okay? You got it. Okay, fine. So then these people don't actually answer him, if you look at it. They decline because they're wise, or they're rabbis, or they realize whatever they say, it's not going to work. They know he loves her. They know he's drunk. If they say keep her alive, it's going to look bad on them. If they said kill her, it's going to look bad on them. So they dodge. By the way, that's the best way to do it. If someone with money and power asks you something, dodge it. Or doge it. Okay, fine. However, there were 7 advisors, I believe, who did come to him with advice. And they are mentioned in the order of their importance. Karshna Sheta Admata Tarshish Meres Marsana. I don't know who these people are or what their names represent, but the last one I do, and he was the smallest advisor at this time. And I would write this name down if I were you. His name was, at this point, this is a code name called Memuhan, aka also known as Haman. At this point, he's not called Haman. He's referred to by another name, which is Memuhan. Okay? I'm going to tell you what the word Haman means, where it comes from. This word is actually found in the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. I'm going to tell you where. Memuhan means something in Hebrew. What does it mean? What is Muhan? Mor, a resident Israeli. What is mukhan?
Is to be ready. or
Ready.
willing to do
Mukhan.
something.
Ready or willing. Ready or willing. He's Mr. Ready. Ready for what? Well, on his side, ready to gain power, ready to put himself forward, because he's the one who's going to answer. He's the smallest of them, and he answers first, and he gives his advice, which, by the way, is crazy advice, we're going to see, completely cuckoo, but he's going to come forward with his advice to Ahasuerus, and I'm ready to give you my advice and be your second in command. But from Hashem's view, he's ready for his downfall. Before he even goes up, Hashem is readying him to go down. He's ready to go down. That's what the rabbis understand it. He's ready to have his big downfall. He thinks he's going up. Hashem is preparing his downfall at the beginning. So too with every evil person. They don't just come up and then fall. Hashem prepares the refuah before the makkah, says the Gemara. God prepares the healing before the smack. So Hashem is already planning his downfall and the saving of the Jewish people. Before he's even famous or rich. Don't think that these people become famous and rich and then become big anti-Semites and I better deal with them. No. It's all planned from the beginning. Everything that led him up to this point in his life and onwards is all min hashemayim. Mukhan. Hashem's ready. He thinks he's ready. Hashem's like, no. I'm more ready than you are. That's why he's called Mr. Mukhan. Yeah.
Two things. One is you said it's in order of importance, so that means Haman was the...
He was the least important, 1,000%.
So
He's going to jump forward first. He's going to go up from the bottom.
Okay.
He's the smallest advisor. At this point, he is nothing.
And then the other thing, why does Haman hate the Jews so much?
Okay, that's a good question. And there's going to be a number of answers to that. I'm not going to do that right now. But I promise you that's going to be a major theme of him, his nation, Amalek that he comes from. And there's more. Right? But I have a lot to say on his hatred, like beyond comprehension of the Jewish people, more than anyone else. Ahasuerus hates the Jews, but he needs them. He's pragmatic. Haman hates the Jews because I just hate Jews, I want them dead. Right? Not all anti-Semites are the same. They're just not. Right? You got your college professor anti-Semite, right? You got your Nazi anti-Semite. You have your Islamist jihadi death cult one. There's all different types. There's your Nazis. There's all different types, right? We shouldn't bunch them all together. They have different desires, different wants. Some of them you can work with. Some of them you cannot work with. Haman is part of the group you cannot work. There is no way to get through to him. Not garnished. Yeah, Rachel.
Isn't there something in Megillat Esther and the Chumash, or something that a line that is used as a proof that the Torah is true?
Not that the Torah is true, but we're going to see some words and lines in the Torah, which I'm not there yet, which make references and hidden references to the story of Megillat Esther. We're going to get to those. We're not there yet. We have one coming up soon. Okay, fine. So he calls the advisor, what should I do? So Haman, at this point, Mamochan comes forward and says, okay, fine. This is what I think you should be doing, okay? We have a problem. She's done something wrong, right? And what's going to happen is this. He starts to get into, he was a genius, right? And to see him, Nazis were geniuses, right? They just used it for evil. He's the same. He knew how to get into the head of Ahasuerus. So what does he know? Ahasuerus is paranoid. Right? That's a good word. I'd write that down. He's paranoid. Paranoid being taken over, paranoid about his wife, paranoid about his own limited royal lineage. He's got a lot of paranoia. All dictators are paranoid, yeah? He's paranoid and fearful. He feeds into that, and he says, look, if you let her talk to you this way, right? What's going to happen? All wives are going to be like, oh, if Vashti could talk that way to King Achashverosh, I can talk that way to you. This is what he's saying. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. But this is what he tells him. Why is that bad? So all these husbands are now going to be treated badly by their wives. And what's going to happen? They're going to be like, who caused all this? Achashverosh. Off with his head. That's the plan of Haman. And you know what? It worked. He freaks him out in his drunken state. He says it's not going to be good. They're going to do this terrible thing to you, and they're going to rebel against you, and this is going to be your downfall. So he's buying into his paranoia. He's buying into it. Okay? So now you're going to have to deal with her and deal with everyone. Look at verse 17. Because what the queen has come to the attention of all the women, making their husbands contemptible in their eyes by saying, Ahasuerus commanded Queen Vashti to be brought home, but she did not come. Right? They're all going to start rebelling. We're going to start a whole Me Too movement, and that's the end of men. And they're going to go, who they're going to blame? They're going to blame you. I mean, that's basically it. I'm not even exaggerating. Okay? And so he says the following. And then he gives really stupid advice, which was so stupid as Shemayim. You should make a document and send it out saying that if anyone rebels against their spouse, and this is the law in Persia, right? That Vashti can never appear before Ahasuerus, and no one can go against their husbands. This is another layer of control that Ahasuerus is taking over Vashti and the entire population. Yeah.
If when Haman was like the least important advisor, why was he taking advice from him for like this talk?
He jumped forward, and this was his time. It's all min Shemayim. Hashem allowed him to go out for, gave him the guts to do it, and made him stand out. This is all going to lead to the redemption of the Jewish people. This is all leading to the survival of the Jewish people. What happens to Vashti? Anyone know? After this, he sends out this ridiculous edict. Everyone listens to their husbands, right? And Vashti is never going to be seen before her again. That's a code for that she dies. So she's going to die. How does she die?
By hanging.
So we're not told. The Megillah doesn't tell us. Because when he sobers up, and he's going to read this at some point, right? He's going to be like, oh my God, I loved her and I did that to her. So we're not told. We're not told. One opinion is that she was hanged. Another opinion was that she was decapitated and her head, wearing the crown, was brought into the feast on a tray. Sorry. I apologize for the gross, but that's what the Midrash tells us. And there's many, many Midrashim. That's what it tells us. He's making a spectacle of her, that he's in control, yeah.
So you said that she died after, like, meaning he sent out the document and then he asked her to come.
I think he killed her first, and then he sends out the document. By the way, the document was so stupid, it was so ridiculous, and everyone laughed at it, was actually helpful, because later on in the story there's going to be another document that's going to say, kill the Jews, and they're like, oh, here he is again, this crazy guy with another crazy document. So actually this was part of the survival of the Jewish people. Right? It's like, oh, and they're like, this guy's crazy. You know, he's become drunk with power, he's completely off his rocker, he's gone completely cuckoo, right? And this is just another piece of proof of it. Yeah.
Wait, what does the first document say again?
That every woman has to listen to her husband, and he's in control. Right? By the way, try sending that document to my wife, and she'd laugh in your face as well. Nothing new there, yeah.
Did the men in the realm take this seriously? Because
No.
so nobody took this.
No one took it seriously. I don't think. We're not told, but the rabbis tell us they all laughed at it. They knew it was ridiculous. But it was real to Ahasuerus. Right? He's disconnected. He doesn't know what's going out there. He's living his little royal conclave. Don't know.
Because if he was, wouldn't
Doesn't.
he
By
kill
the way,
the
it
Mukhar?
doesn't seem so at this point because it doesn't mention the Megillah. It's not even hinted at. It seems like it was great advice and he took it. It makes him look good. Ahasuerus is always going to look good in the Megillah. And if he's not looking good, it's because other people are forcing that upon him. He's always looking good. Haman, we don't have that problem with. He's about to die. But Ahasuerus always comes out on top. It's amazing. So when I was a kid, I saw him, I was like, oh, I'm King Ahasuerus. The guy was a genius. You didn't get to where you are at this. You don't become president, dictator, by being an idiot. He knew what he was doing. The guy's not a shmagegi. Okay, we just finish off the chapter and then we'll stop the class because we did a lot today. He liked the idea. He follows his advice and he sent out Sfarim. These are edicts, books of law, to all the Medinot, 127 Medinot, and he sent them out translated into every language. He did Google Translate on every single one of them. Look at the end. Kol ish sorer bebeito. That every man should rule his home. Umedaber kelishon amo. And speak the language of his own people. Every man's in charge. That's what he sent out. Right? In other words, I'm with you, my men. You stick with me. Don't try to rebel against me. That's how chapter 1 finishes.
Wait, can you repeat that?
The edict went out. It got sent to all the 127 provinces, right? And everyone heard that Ahasuerus is in charge, just like every man is in charge in their home. This rebellion, which obviously became famous and known, is not indicative of my lack of power. Okay, we shall stop over there. We'll pick this up on Thursday, Miss Hashem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.